Everybody, welcome to Down Home Backyard Gardening. I want to talk about something I have been asked about by numerous subscribers, and that's the mothball water and how it works in relations to keeping the vine borer moth away from your squash and zucchini plants. Now I know right off the bat this sounds crazy. I'm going to explain it because it works. So if you're interested, stay tuned, sit back, relax, and here we go. Let's grow. Okay, so last spring actually, this time last year in 2022, I had a lot of zucchini and squash plants over in that bed. But this year I've got them right here. Now if you look, you can't see any of the mothball water jugs that I have over here. And the reason for that is very simple. These squash plants are growing. They're not being destroyed by the vine borers. If we come in here and we look down at the base of all these squash plants right here, you can see that everything is super healthy. No damage from a vine borer larva down here at the base of these plants. Healthy and thriving right now. What you don't want is this right here. As you can see in this video from last year, you can see the damage from the vine borer larva that got in there and just started to destroy the plant. And in fact, that plant died. You can't do anything about it once they get into the base. So what I did is I started to do research. And the research I found and that I read about talked about mothballs with water in jars. And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you it works. So 2 weeks ago I planted all these zucchini plants. I started on the starts and then put them out here, and look how good they're doing. This is in 2 weeks. They are going crazy. But obviously you notice these jugs. As you can see, there's mothballs in here. Water levels about there, and I have these little slits, 3 different places on the bottle. Now there's no scientific, there's no ratio to this. I just threw, there's probably 20 mothballs in here, 4 inches, 5 inches of water, and I just sit them in around the squash plants or the zucchini plants or the melon plants too. Now the whole premise behind this is that the mothball water makes the mothball smell even stronger, and then it kind of creates like this barrier all around these squash plants. And I have had literally zero squash borer eggs anywhere on any of my zucchini plants this year. This right here is what you're looking for if you have squash borer eggs. They are these little red, almost like blood red dots on your zucchini plants or your squash plants, and they stand out like a beacon. You cannot miss those little eggs. If you find them, pop them. Just take your nail and just pop them. Once they're popped, they're dead. But if you have 1 egg, you're gonna have like a gajillion. So my whole thought process last year was, let's just not have any. And the only way to not have any is to keep the moth away. The mothball water works. Literally where I'm sitting, and let me turn the camera so you can see exactly where I'm sitting and how close I'm sitting to the plants here. I can smell the mothball water right here. I can smell that smell, and you know the smell of mothballs. There are no eggs on any of these plants right here, or back there where I just showed you a minute ago. What I do, and I go kind of overboard, I know, because I want to ensure that I get zucchinis and squash, is I put a lot of these bottles out. And at first, I know they look very unsightly. They're not aesthetic at all to your garden, but I don't care. My goal for gardening is to get vegetables, and I don't want to lose them to those little pests, those little punks. Now standing right here looking at this garden, you can see the growth of everything going over there. I've got them trellising up these tomato cages, but you can't see the mothball water jugs. So once your plants grow, it doesn't matter about the jars being out here because you're not going to see them, but they're going to be doing their job. The only thing is you got to make sure that you keep them full of water and that you replace the mothballs. And as you can see, I have squashes growing right now. One question I had last year before I started this is, will the mothball water smell keep bees from pollinating? The answer is no, actually. I have sat here and watched bees fly right in next to the mothball water jugs, go straight into the flowers and do their thing. So I don't know if it's strictly the moths that don't like this smell, but the bees don't seem to have any issue that I have noticed. Okay, so this bed right here, last year had rampincati zucchini plants growing all the way up from the back across tomato cages and then down, which I'm showing right here. Now the benefit of that is that you're getting the zucchini and the squash plants up off the ground, which allows the flowers to bloom higher, which then allows the bees and other pollinators to see the flowers and get to them. The bad thing about that is that the mothball water barrier is really only at the bottom, which that is a good thing because you want the vine borer moth larvae to stay away from the base of the plants. That's the important thing to me. Now, I did actually get vine borer larvae up higher at the very top of those zucchini plants, but by then the plants were so established that I was able to cut into the vine, kill the vine borer, and the plant kept living. So the key to the whole mothball water is to keep that barrier, that smelly mothball barrier, down at the base to keep the vine borers away from the base of your zucchini, squash, and melon plants. And if you can, trellis your plants high. Get them up higher because you want to utilize as much space in the garden as you can, and growing vertically is absolutely important for numerous reasons. Saving space, allowing pollinators to see your flowers better, and then you're gonna have a bigger harvest because your vines are growing taller and producing more flowers, which will then produce more fruit. Okay, so again, I know this sounds crazy, but I would not be doing a second video on this if it didn't work, if I do not stand beside it. Now, again, the key is you want jugs that you can cut V's into. The reason for the V's is it helps keep the water from the rain from overflowing your containers. And then two, it allows the smell of the mothballs out into the garden, creating that barrier. So fresh mothballs, I do it twice a year now. Every 6 months I change out the mothballs, or basically whenever I'm planting a new crop of squash, zucchini, or melons. And then you just want to monitor your crops. Now, I can't say this is going to be 100% effective. You might have an area where you're just infested with those moths and they just don't care. I don't know, but for this garden, for 2 years now, for 2 springs, this method has worked. And as you're seeing right here, I grew some good zucchinis last year, and I was very, very proud of what I was able to grow. And it's because I'm being proactive and thinking outside the box, keeping the moths away. If the moths can't find your squash and zucchini plants, they're not gonna lay their eggs there. Maybe they'll find your neighbor. Again, everyone, I know this sounds crazy, but it works. Just give it a shot, and I promise you, you're going to see results that you're gonna want. You want your squash and zucchinis to grow. Everyone, take care, God bless, continue to shine bright and harvest hard, and I'll talk to y'all again real soon. Bye. What you don't want is your camera to keep moving and shifting on you. That's what you don't want.